Working on a BX25 with the BT601 backhoe, and the bottom pin on this is squeaking, so obviously the grease isn't getting down there properly, and I've got to take that pin out. I've already taken the top one out. The top one was easy, it just about fell out. I used an 1.25 inch piece of metal, which in this case was an old bearing thing, and it just happens to fit perfectly on top of this thing, and I just tapped that down and it just popped right through that hole. Now before you can do that, you got to take the pin out, which goes through the bottom here, and I think it was a 14 millimeter on this end and a 17 millimeter on the nut end, which is a nylock nut. And of course the grease nipple is on the top. Now there is somewhere here, so I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees like that, and what I've done is where the grease comes out here, I've cut a big channel in here in vertical, which shouldn't affect the strength for this arm, and if it does, oh well. A new pin is like 35 bucks in Canada here. So I've cut that to provide a grease well, so it doesn't run out of grease too quick. And especially important, I guess, on the bottom one, because it's down in the dirt. All right. So what I plan on doing to get this bottom one out, I think, is I'll put this thing down on that, and I'll run a piece of pipe through the upper hole and just see if I can tap that through to the ground, because the only thing holding it in place is that pin. Now getting that pin out was really tight, so I know that it's seizing onto the swing arm, and it should be fun. Maybe I can video it. Okay, I didn't video what I had to do because I had to try and figure it out. So let's see. 1.25 inch pipe. I dropped it through the top hole to go down and sit on top of the pin. There's the pin, and I knocked it through. It actually came out quite easy, but you can see how dry it is, and it was squealing, so I know it needs lube. And the fun thing is, though, is how am I going to get that pipe out, because it's the two pins that hold this whole boom on. Now make sure you put your lock in here and put your lock in there. I put a jack underneath here, and I've connected two, you can see it, two come-alongs up to here. Sunshine. So there, okay, so there we are. And so I got the two come-alongs holding the top up, and I've got the jack holding the bottom, and I've got the 1.25 inch bar holding the whole thing together. So I can't drive that bar down because it can't go down past the ground. So I gotta be able to pull that bar back up somehow or another, and then put the bottom pin in first. So I'll come back to that once I figure it out. Yeah, this could be challenging. I might have got myself in over my head here, but I'll figure it out. Okay, I got it in here on the bench. Let's throw more light on the situation here. Okay, so anyway, this is the zerk. This is the bottom pin for the boom. And somewhere in here is the grease channel. No, that's not it. Ah, there we go. That's it. So it's impacted with dirt, and there's no way grease is coming through there. So I'll get the grease gun, pump that through to make sure it's clear. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a big channel in here so that less likely for the dirt to go into there and block this. At least there'll be a well of lubrication. This part here doesn't move, and this part doesn't move because of the pin, but the boom swivels on this, and we can see that there's wear on this side. So that's where the greatest load is. So I'll switch it to 180 because this side's hardly worn at all, and I should get another 3,200 hours out of it. Might be a bit sloppy, but I did notice my bucket is the sloppiest, so we'll see. I could just buy a new pin and throw it in, but I'm frugal, or cheap, whichever way you want to look at it. As a reminder, there's also a top washer, thrust washer I guess, and a bottom one. So you don't want to get those out of line very much. And I got lucky. At least I think I got lucky. It was the first time doing it, so I got to call it luck. The bottom pin, when I knocked it out, the pipe was still up a bit. So I was able to put the pin back in, and I was able to tap it back up, and everything kind of lined up. And then I had to put a bar in here, and I put a support over there. And it was a long bar. And I pried on the bottom here to pry this out. And I let the jack down because it was lifting the whole tractor and putting a lot of extra pressure on, and nothing was moving. So I needed the washers to move slightly. And I was able to tap the pin up. So now I'm able to put the bolt in. So I shall do that. And then I'll do the top one, which will be much easier, I hope. Okay, so now that the bottom pin is secured, actually this pipe will pull up and down so you can line up the washers and everything before you pull it out. And if not, just wiggle your backhoe around a little bit, apply necessary pressure wherever, and that new pin, or the clean pin, should just drop right in there. I also noticed on the bottom that the zerk was loose. So I think what was happening was the grease was coming out, and I thought it might have been coming past the grease gun, but it wasn't allowing enough pressure to build up to grease that bottom pin. So hopefully with the little channel I cut in it, and with the lubrication and the cleaning now, it should be good for another 3,200 hours, which I have on this BX already. These have never been serviced, as you can tell by the wear on them. And this will make me very happy. Okay, so that all worked out. Oh, but remember to take parts and pieces out here. Can't leave chunks of metal in and around. I've just put that in there to pry on. And same with this piece of metal here. Okay, so as the astute YouTubers out there, you realize I put the old pins back in, and I'm still gonna have the same slop, but I just give it some new wear surfaces, and I just want a little more life out of it. I mean, I've got a major problem here. If you look at this, there's quite a bit of movement in that thing. So that needs to be addressed before I worry about the bottom and top pins. Bottom and top pins, there's two of them for this mechanism. This is only one. I'm sure on the other end I might have a bit of an issue too. Though, oh yeah, the cylinder's moving a little bit. Anyway, to be addressed another day. She's all greased up and ready to work again. I just did 24 hours landscaping job, 24 hours of tractor time in 4 days. And this bottom pin, as you can see, was dry and was squealing, so we're all good now. I guess I'll just put this video together and post it on YouTube, and if it helps anybody, good. But I think all pins should be removed. You know, these ones need to be removed, and That one needs to be removed, and the bucket ones need to be removed, and all the same things done. Cleaned out, cleaned up, greased, and put back together. Enjoy your BX, I sure do.